I like good game design. When a game is designed well, it's a good game. And a good game is a game I like. It's like when you design a game, it's good to make good decisions, not bad decisions. If you make bad decisions while you're designing your game, you're gonna end up, introducing flaws to the game. And a game that has too many flaws, it's no longer good. If it has too many flaws, it becomes a bad game. You don't want to make a bad game. You have to make a good game. You make a good game by avoiding the flaws. You just don't do any bad work while you do the work. And then the game becomes a good game. I like it. I just like good game design, really. And I could keep talking like this forever without saying anything of any value. Because the words good and bad are 100% context dependent. It's like when I say this movie is good, I am not making a statement about the actual like abstract true value of this movie in the context of everything ever. What I'm saying is I like this movie. So when you say, oh, this is good game design, you're saying, oh, this is a game design that I like. Nice. In a social context, that's perfectly fine. Like you need to be able to kind of start a conversation somehow, to be like, hey, this is what I think. This is my personal truth. What do you think of this? And that's in a social context, fine, like say good game design, whatever. In a creative context, I want you to stop using the term good game design or bad game design. I want you to stop using good and bad in creative context because it will fuck you up. It will destroy your ability to actually, do work. you can this topic is very dear to my heart. Yeah, like look at the Psycho Odyssey, right? The documentary that Double Fine released about their process of making Psychonauts 2. For like 22 episodes, you can watch these professional creative people running around in circles, being like, "This is not good. We should make it good." So, and then, in like episode 22 or something, it takes them ages, they start to stop using the word good, to describe what they want to make. And they start to come up with a different, more specific word. And that word is psychonautical, And what that means to them is then you can really see this in the end product. As soon as they pick a more concrete word, they are able to work efficiently. And what psychonautical means to them is like these like camera tricks. There's like, ooh, you go in a circle and then you end up in a different place because video game space is not real. That's what they mean with psychonautical. I think you can really feel this in the end product, that they make a game that has a lot of these like moments of like, wow, production value, special effects, isn't it cool that we can do this? And then these islands of like very discrete content that don't really interact or relate that much to each other except on a very, very like abstract level, because they just you can watch the process in the documentary. It's great, but you can really like see how they talk about the game, like influence the game that comes out. And the game only comes out, I would argue, in large part because they stop using good and bad as their only qualifiers for like what gets into the game and what doesn't get into the game. And it's like, I mean, I can kind of understand the desire, to be like, to have like, oh, there is a good, there's a good game design. And if I just do this, then my work will be good and I will be, like successful or whatever. It doesn't work like that. That's not how this shit works. It has nothing to do with the reality of actually making stuff. It's not like you say like, oh, I want to make a good game, and then you just, avoid making a bad game. It's not like that. But this is the kind of perspective you get when you play like 10,000 video games and you like 80 of them and you dislike the others. And then you look at the 80 you really like and you try to figure out what they have in common. And then you're like, this is not just my personal good, but this is an abstract good. This is like a meta good. This is always good. This is the rule good. This is the institutionalized good that I will now preach as gospel forever. What is presented as good is just, like an abstracted version of my personal taste. But then if I present it in a way where I say like, this is good, and you need to follow these rules, impressionable young people who want to make games but who are not yet making games get all of these like preconceived notions and also this way of thinking about work, which is like, oh, there's a good way and a bad way to do things. And that's not true. You either do the thing and you see then if it fits into your like general vision, and your capabilities, because like a lot of game design is not like a lot of designed games are designed in this way, not because of some like adherence to abstract principles, but because of material reality of like, my computer cannot render 3D graphics because I don't have enough money to buy a better graphics card. You know, better in this sense is really nice, because in graphics cards, you know, there is a better. There's something that has like a higher number. It's like sprinting. It's like sports. You know, it's like, but is it better in any context? No. You know, like if I want to have a laptop that I can take with me on my travels, then a huge tower is useless. Whatever. Ooh, context dependent. Good and bad are context dependent. Do you remember? That was part of the thing earlier. This is, you know, tightly structured. So there's this video about like good game design that really made me very angry, which is why I'm now standing here. And that video talks about Arctic Eggs, and it's like, oh, you know, Arctic Eggs is a badly designed cooking game, but sometimes it's good to be a badly designed cooking game because that allows you to do new things. And it's like, yes, you know, like breaking rules, breaking conventions, because when you say good, you know, in an abstract concept, when you say good, you're actually just saying conventional. And when you say bad, you know, it would be very fruitful for your creative endeavor to replace the word bad with experimental, and to kind of like open your mind to the possibility of not being perfect, you know, of not making some YouTuber really happy. Yeah. So that YouTube video uses Arctic Eggs as an example, but it completely misunderstands what Arctic Eggs is because it's like this reductive good bad dichotomy kind of like keeps you from actually looking at what is in front of you. Because Arctic Eggs is not a cooking game, it's a rage game. You know, it comes from the tradition of Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. That's much more closer to its essence than a cooking game. It's the structure of Arctic Eggs is the same as the structure of EBSM, the previous game from the Water Museum, from the developers, where you feed entities. You know, you get food and you give it to other people, and then you progress through like a linear story, and the story is very like abstract, and it really wants to, you know, the writing of Arctic Eggs, it wants you, it's I don't like it. It's bad, you know. That's what I could say now. But what I will say instead is that it's it's emulating how it. Okay, the writing of Arctic Eggs feels like it's trying to evoke the same feeling that you get when you watch like a horror YouTuber talk about lore. It feels like the writing is mainly concerned with sounding like the best tidbits from one of those like horror videos. You know, it's kind of like. In a way, it's fallen into this trap of being like, this is an established good of indie game writing, so I will replicate it directly without questioning, you know, what it actually is constructed out of. So Arctic Eggs, and then, you know, it's just this linear thing, you just feed, but the thing with the frying pan is that the frying pan, compared to the previous game of the developer, the frying pan adds a lot of like tangible, like, a kind of tactile quality, the kind of like rage bait quality of like, ooh, oh, I have to fry the egg, you know, oh, this sausage is flipping, oh, ah! Okay, I will do again, you know, chat, let's do this, we will fry the cigarettes, aha. That's kind of like what they're going for, and they're perfectly achieving that. I don't like the game. Is it a bad game? You know, just because it's not like a traditional cooking game. Like, good and bad doesn't capture this shit. You know, it's much more nuanced. It comes out of a history. It comes out of a place. It comes out of the economic necessity of small independent teams to capture the attention of streamers. That is like probably a much bigger influence on the design than any like genre ideas. You know, it's not like I'm guessing here, but I'm guessing specifically, you know, I am saying specific things. The things, I'm not just saying like, oh, it's a bad game because it's a bad cooking game, because cooking games should be like this, because I have seen cooking games in the past and they were like this, so this is the truth. That's not how creativity works, motherfucker. Okay. So what I want you to take away from this video is that I want you to never use good and bad in the creative context again. Just don't use it, you know, like it's going to kill you. It's going to kill the people you work with. It's going to mess with your own mind. Because when you judge everything you do as like good or bad, you're applying a kind of like invisible audience to the act of creation. Like you're like, this YouTuber says this is good, this YouTuber says this is good, you know, my Uncle Mark says this is good. And then these three goods will not match. People like different things. And then you're fucked because you don't have a concrete perspective to act upon. So stop using good and bad in the creative context. In the social context, you know, please keep using it. Like, be a human being. It's very difficult, but it's possible. Use more specific words. Because when you let go of this dichotomy of like good and bad, you can kind of, you know, you can dig into what you're looking at, and you can see it in a more nuanced way, you know. Doesn't mean that your interpretation is correct or whatever, but it gives you concrete little pieces of like ideas and systems and mechanics and like histories of stuff, you know. Like when you look at stuff for yourself, you can discover what it means to you, and then you can take what it means to you, and you can like kind of like steal that, you know. You can take that out of the game, and you can have it and think about it and put it in your own little bag. And then the bigger your bag is, like metaphorically speaking, like the more stuff you have concrete opinions about that are your own opinions, that are your own, you know, that you made yourself by active engagement with stuff, instead of taking like good and bad, you know, and that being all the depth of your investigations. If you have a lot of specific things that you believe in or that you disagree with, you know, but that you can articulate, that you can explain to someone else, that you can discuss and talk about without resorting to the good-bad dichotomy, then, you know, you will have a much easier time making stuff, which is what this is all about.